Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting to order today and welcome everybody here today and in the virtual world to our June the 20th, 2023 special called budget board meeting. All right, first thing that we need to take care of, I have received a request by Mr. Ronnie Jett to participate in the meeting tonight by electronic communication from a remote location due to a personal medical condition. Let's see, I have approved such participation under the county's adopted remote participation policy and ask that the Board of Supervisors ratify this decision to allow Mr. Jett to participate remotely.
I so move.
All right, got a motion and a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ronnie, are you here tonight?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Glad to have you here.
Working this time, too.
Yeah, we can certainly hear him tonight. All right. It was also brought to my attention that people in the audience couldn't hear at our last meeting, so Robert, see if you can turn it up, and also board members, can you speak into your microphone and speak up a little bit? All right. Our first thing to do tonight is we're going to try to work on this budget. And we have, I don't know which way y'all want to do it, but we do have the county appropriations, if you want to start with that item. We'll go through them, see if we can get that approved or whatever.
Mr. Chairman, you're referring to the fiscal year 23 budget amendment
Yes.
appropriations?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Fiscal year 2023 budget amendment, yeah.
I guess just as an update, that we did get some additional information for the board related to that item, and that was emailed to the board. And if you look at that particular spreadsheet, the total appropriation requested would be $3,921,884.62. And that would refer to those items that have been expended, and that does include the monies for the new grants that are being requested as well, which covers, I think, Mr. Brand's concern at the last meeting. With that, what it would entail would be unappropriated amount of $1,686,742.03, which does include not appropriating the monies for the new construction funds, which is the $1,134,172. I don't know if you have any other additional questions related to that budget amendment request or not.
All right, any board members have any questions or comments?
What's the reason we eliminated the construction funds?
Well, one, those funds will not be used this fiscal year anyway. Any monies, that $1.6 million, we're going to need to consider next fiscal year anyway as carryover monies, but they don't have any expenses coming out of that particular grant at this time.
And that was the funds that Ms. Walgo was having a discussion with us at the last meeting that they're going to use for CRP.
That's being considered.
That, yes, so that's fine.
Okay, ready for a motion?
Well, got a question. The amount of money that you're requesting to actually be appropriated, those funds, would they come actually back to the county?
Correct. So basically how that works is that is offsetting the school's expenditure. So it's coming back through the school EDI is how that's working, but it's county money. They can only spend those monies once. It's not, when those monies come back in, it's not something that they can spend those monies twice. So from an accounting standpoint, it's just offsetting that expenditure.
So if we don't, then our audit for the county is going to be out of whack,
That's correct.
because it's already been expended from the county side, but just not reimbursed. Okay.
Ronnie, you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
All right. Board need any other information?
No.
Board ready to make a decision?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 3 million.
And I hear him.
I'd like
Speak
to
up,
make a
Jim.
motion that we approve the 3,921,884.62.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. My question, though, is the budget amendment request was like 5.6 million. Don't we need to approve the total request, meaning approve the budget amendment, but just not appropriate, but the amount that you suggested?
That's correct. What it is, you're approving the budget amendment in total with the appropriated amount of that 3,921,884.62 with an unappropriated amount of 1,686,742.03. So those two figures total that $5.6 million.
So Mr. Long's motion, in a sense, needs to be amended.
Yeah, that needs to be amended.
To amend it to include the approve the budget amount total, but appropriate this.
Yes.
Correct.
You want to amend your motion, Jim?
Yes.
All right,
And I'll continue with my second.
all right, and you amend your second on that. You okay with that now, Luttrell?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other discussion? Ronnie, you have anything to say?
No, understand what Tom Allen said.
All right. All right, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, Ronnie, I think I heard you say aye.
Yes, sir.
He did.
All right, motion passes 5-0. All right, we got one thing out the way. Now, I guess the next thing would be to work on the school budget. If that's what everybody wants to do right now.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Want to do something?
Yes.
All right. All right, does the board have any questions? We have Dr. Walgo and Tara Booth here tonight. I think they'll be more than glad to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Walgo, Ms. Booth, would you mind coming forward, please? I'm glad y'all were able to make it here today.
Thank you for inviting us. Good evening,
Yes, ma'am,
Mr.
y'all are
Chairman
certainly
and
welcome.
Supervisors.
I have one question here. You may have told me before, but I just don't have an answer to it. Over on your expenditure summary report for, that Ms. Booth sent to us back in 6/19, Fund number 1, line item 7,000, payment to joint operations. What is that?
Is that line 7,000, you said?
7,000, yes, ma'am.
I don't have line numbers on here. need to run out.
You want to look at this one?
That'd be great.
That's probably the Northumberland Technical Center, if I had to guess.
It could be, I don't know. I just don't know what it is.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. That is Northern Neck Technical Center. That is correct.
Oh, Neck Technical Center, all right, okay.
You don't have any other joint operation expenditure, that's why I can figure that one out.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Your budget request for this year for instruction is 16.5 million. And last year, according to the auditors, you only spent 13 million. Why is it such a huge increase this year? 3.5 million.
So my understanding, last year there were multiple positions that were not filled. So money was returned to the county because we did not have those expenditures.
We didn't get anything back last year.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Yeah, it went through the treasurer. Went to the treasurer.
What was that now? I can't hear you,
It
Jim.
went through the treasurer's office, right? Where'd the money go?
Still can't hear.
You say we got money back,
What was
right?
last year's return?
You say you got money back, right?
It was my understanding that at the end of last fiscal year, a little over 600,000 was returned to the county.
That's news to me.
I don't think it was that. I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, let me pull up the audit.
It went to the treasurer.
We know where it was supposed to go, but the question is, we never heard that figure before.
Right.
That's 2 cents right there.
Huh?
That's 2 cents on the tax right there.
So if you, yeah, that 326 is it? Yeah, if you, looking at the audit, the total contribution went over the budgeted amount that the county had. So it actually dipped into the county funds $326,394 more than what was appropriated. But that was due to the title monies not being reimbursed. So we didn't receive anything back per se from the school division. But it did dip into the county funds, $326,394.
That's a $900,000 swing.
And per the audit, as we discussed last Thursday, we have taken corrective action, and I think Mr. Tadlock can reaffirm that we have been receiving funds for Title I, Title II, Title IV, Title V, Title VI, and we're filing reimbursements to ESSER II. As soon as that came to our attention, we put a plan in place to correct it, which we plan to follow moving forward. Once we were made aware, we addressed it. So this fiscal year, you're going to see more money, which represents money that has been reimbursed and that should have been reimbursed last year. Mr. Tadlock, have I represented that accurately?
No, we have been seeing additional revenues coming in, and the treasurer's office has been,
That's what I was
Ms. Carvey has been working with the school division on that.
So no idea how much funds are going to be returned yet?
We can give you that figure. I did not bring that today. We do have, some of those funds will be, the emphasis is to have as many reimbursed against by June 30th. But that doesn't mean we can't continue reimbursements. We will continue reimbursements through July and August. The ultimate, some of these reimbursements, the due date is September 30th. We don't plan on waiting until September though, because allegedly the Department of Ed will receive many requests in September, so they aren't as efficient at approving them. So our goal is as many reimbursements for the title funds and the ESSER funds by June 30th, and then using July and August to capture the remaining. There are some funds that have an expiration of September 30th, 2024. So we are prioritizing the funds that are have this September 30th deadline. We have not missed any funds at this point. We are doing significant reimbursements, which again, as soon as that came to our attention, given the changes that have happened in the finance department, unfortunately it occurred and we are addressing it.
I do have a document I'd like to share with you, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is something I put together today, just in all the talk, we've been giving you reports on the ESSER reimbursements, but we haven't talked about the Title I and the Title VI.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just wanted you to have an update of where we were with those as well. So everything that's in red at the top, that's all Title I reimbursements. And all that information you'll see on the right, it says sent report to treasurer, so Ms. Kirby has that. And then just today, there was another $266,576 in reimbursements filed, also under Title I. And then there were 4 reimbursements filed today for IDEA, which is Title VI. So you can see that currently, just in IDEA and Title I, we have a little over $500,000 pending reimbursement.
Everything in red's been approved and sent to the treasurer.
The last couple on there, they've been approved. I'm not sure if the treasurer's received the funds yet, but if not, it's just probably within the next week or so that would happen.
Okay.
And as Mr. Tadlock said, when we get those reimbursements, those funds are deposited through an electronic deposit to the treasurer's office, so we don't have access to those funds again. We just spend them the one time, file for the reimbursements, and that money goes directly to the bank account.
It looks like in Title I, you have received $266,576.
That's the one that was just filed today.
That's the one you just filed today. That's a grant, Title I reimbursement.
Correct. And everything at
That's
the top
$620.
is Title I, except for there's $51,000 that's a Title II reimbursement.
Yeah, all right. That's 2.
And we're still filing.
Looks like you received probably what, over 600,000,
Yes, sir.
just roughly doing it. You have another additional 566,153.13 coming. That's what's been filed on today also. All that as a total of it today.
Yes, sir. And there will be more IDEA funds filed for by the end of next week.
Okay. All right, any other board members have any comments or questions?
Mr. Haney, you had something that you were asking the school system about. Was that the summary expenditures?
Yeah.
Do y'all get something similar to that? Showing, because I'm looking at what Mary Dotson sent us for the end of May, and looking at the broad categories, I see, where's that? Administration and health, you're 103%.
Yes, sir. So that is our 10-level summary.
And transportation, but the problem is, you're appropriated by categories, you can't spend more than the categories without coming to the board.
So some of the issue on that is that items have been put in incorrect account codes, which we had talked about before. So for instance, last year's summer school teachers, that is being paid for, or a good amount of that is being paid for through the summer learning grant, but it wasn't put in under the ESSER account code. It was put in under the general fund. So that's just part of the journal entries that we're working on to make these corrections as we find where the errors are.
And a journal entry is a fancy word for when Ms. Booth sees these errors, she has to go in and revise and put the item under the correct code. We have had significant transitions, so I don't think people deliberately put things under the wrong code, but it did happen.
I understand that, but government accounting coding is very unique. Certain things you'll have your agency, meaning whatever yours is, then you'll have a major sub-account, and then you'll have individual, like for telephone, for paper or whatever. That's very, very specific. And you've got to put those codes exactly right. I understand that, but that's something that should have been done.
We're working to fix it.
There ought to be a major cheat sheet to make sure it goes in the right thing. That's all I got to say, but. And the figures I were given were through May. It's still got this month to go through.
That's all we got is May.
Yeah. And how long can journal entries stay as a journal entry until it's corrected?
I think our hope is to have everything straight by the middle of July, which I think is fairly normal.
So you're questioning the line items that are running red. Their budget is not the only budget that's like that right now.
Oh, I know that, but they're the only ones who are by category.
I understand that, but I don't like seeing any line item in anybody's budget running the red.
I don't either. I don't either.
That's going to be, you have to change the practice then.
Yeah, we can.
As long as they didn't see the total category, that's fine right now. But if that's, I don't have a problem with it one way or the other. But, but the board, the Code of Virginia is very specific on school situations. The board can do total broad funding, that one amount, and then y'all decide what you do. Or the board can go by the 8 categories of with all that's federal funds. You got 1 or 2 more, so to speak. But the problem is it's very specific. And beyond that, then it's not a proper appropriation, proper expenditure, excuse me. This isn't getting us anywhere approving any school budget, though.
What was that last?
This didn't help us approve any kind of school budget.
No, doesn't help approve school budget.
I think the question is, how much do we beat this dead horse?
Mr. Jett, you have any comments or questions? Hey, Ronnie?
Yep, that's it. I'm just listening, taking it all in. No questions at this time, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess our audit for this year will be the same as it was last year.
I couldn't tell you what it's gonna look like.
If not, it's not gonna be correct, I don't imagine.
Might get a management letter on the county side this time because of that.
I don't know. I know they've had quite a few financial directors change, but that doesn't stop, you can't let that affect accounting too much. You still have to keep things accountable. I don't know. So, Ms. Booth, your report that you sent to us on the, excuse me, on the 19th, it says that it's a expenditure summary report. So this is not actually an accurate report. It is what, a best guesstimate?
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's a best guesstimate, all right. And how far off do you think this report is?
I don't have an answer overall. I know that I've already identified approximately just over $500,000 that is not in the correct code, that is currently in instruction that should be somewhere else.
Well, your employees down there that are entering these items and coding them, shouldn't they know by now what code they should be?
I think that perhaps some of the people who were doing that in between finance directors did not have that background knowledge and made their best effort.
Which has made it more difficult for you.
Yes, sir.
And I understand you've kind of stepped into this. I do understand that.
And it's very possible with the significant turnover that the employees are no longer with us.
Well, I guess that's a possibility, yeah.
What'd you say, miss? What'd you say?
I said, Mr. Haney was questioning who coded. I said it's very possible that the employees who made the errors didn't intend to, but also are not employed anymore.
Yeah. Now, if the coding's still being entered incorrectly, I think you need to go back and have a talk with the ones that are entering, because they're going to have to make some adjustments, because it puts too much work back on Tara to try to take care of that. You might as well be doing it twice. And I know she's got enough to do, and she doesn't need additional. So I can tell she's a little stressed out, but we all get that way. All right, any other comments, questions?
You have gone back to custodians taking care of the facilities, is that right?
So we are no longer partnering with a third-party provider, and we will have, our custodians will be on our payroll.
All right, because you have an increase in here of service master contract, 24,000, so you don't need the increase and you don't need anything for them.
In speaking with Mr. Brand, who's the Director of Maintenance and Facilities, as we all know, he indicated that we do need that money to be able to cover the custodial services,
Well, what if you got custodians?
right? Prices have increased.
To do what? What are they going to do that your custodians wouldn't?
So I could bring that to you. I don't have that with me today, but I believe product cost has gone up. He is looking at bringing 12 full-time custodians on. So I can bring that information.
Well,
to
I'm just looking at service master contract.
Yes, sir.
Your supplies should have been somewhere under maintenance, building and maintenance somewhere.
I specifically spoke with Mr. Brand about that, and he said he does need the same projected amount. Because that was a question I had.
All right, how much in cost savings is it to have gotten rid of Service Master?
From what I understand, it wasn't necessarily a cost savings, but the service was not being provided in a consistent manner to give us the cleanliness and sanitation that we needed. So we did decide to
All right,
bring that back.
okay. Now, how many employees did Service Master put in?
I would have to look that up, Mr. Haney,
And
but
how many employees are you hiring now?
we are going to have 12 custodians on our
12
payroll.
total or 12 additional?
12 total,
12 total
yes.
for the 3 schools?
Yes, sir.
If you break it up, that's basically 4 per school.
Yeah.
And that includes the daytime custodians as well as the evening custodians.
Okay.
Your health insurance for your bus drivers, are they still considered part-time or are they considered full-time?
We will be adding language that if a bus driver participates in our health insurance, that they will have extra duties. We have been working with our school board attorney on that. This may include substitute teaching. It may include field trips, athletic events, et cetera. So there will be extra hours that will need to be
So they
earned.
would have to meet the minimum requirement to be a full-time.
Yes, sir.
They'd
And-
have to meet at least 29 hours, which they weren't before, because if they had 29 hours or more, the Affordable Care Act, AKA Obamacare, would require them to have health insurance.
Right.
And we are not the sole school division hoping to offer that benefit. School bus drivers are very hard to find, so that is something that has been incentivized in surrounding counties.
How much of an increase are the 12 new custodians going to be with health insurance and benefits?
I believe, and Tara, you're welcome to jump in, but Jeff had he had crunched the numbers that were involved in the service master contract, and he feels he can make it work at the same amount of money with the 12 full-time custodians plus the supplies.
And your Service Master contract was how many dollars?
I don't.
We could look that up. Once we go back, I can pull that up on the computer. The current service master contract.
All right. Now, also, switch here just a little bit. Credit cards. How many credit cards do you have out here to people?
Do we have out to people?
Yes, you know, who has the credit cards, or they have 5 credit cards, or 20 credit cards, or what? Do they have a limit on their credit cards? And when you code the credit card charges, how do you code them?
Yes, sir. I believe there are a total of 8 credit cards. We changed the procedures for the credit cards back in the fall. The only folks who currently have a credit card, there is a credit card at each of the 3 schools, and each principal has access to that and then has one additional designee who has access to that card. The card has a number, like the last 4 digits of the card determine what group it belongs to. So the elementary school, their card, when it comes in on their credit card statement, we can see what charges were specifically to that school. The schools have to send copies of their charges up to accounts payable and verify that everything is correct, and that's how the credit cards are paid. We also have credit cards that we keep at the board office. One used to be with operations and maintenance, one used to be with transportation. We have some for conferences, but we keep those locked at central office, and only on rare occasions do they leave the building. Typically, if those folks need to make a special purchase, they come up and we make it from the board office, not outside the building.
Okay.
And yes, there is a limit. There's an overall limit on all the cards. We're not close to that. We have really reduced the amount of credit card usage over the last 6 months.
And I do want y'all to know I got my school bus socks on.
They look very nice. They match your shirt.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
But you don't remember how much the service master contract was?
I need to look that up, Mr. Tomlin. I'm sorry I didn't bring that with me.
No, I didn't think about the question myself until now.
That's something we can easily send to Mr. Tadlock, and he can share it.
Yes, that'll be fine.
Because I'm looking at beginning custodian with a 5%, and 12 of them, that's $369,000. Then if you add an approximate third for benefits, that's almost $500,000. Does that mean what your service master contract was that high?
I don't know. Again, I don't want to provide false information. I will say that I believe we had 4 of the custodians were on our payroll, and then the others were provided by Service Master, if I'm remembering that right. Because when we decided to go with Service Master, we took a blended approach, knowing that we were protecting the people who would have been grandfathered in. So we can provide you those details. I can send that over to Mr. Tadlock. And I can get you an explanation directly from the Director of Facilities and Maintenance too, regarding the rationale for why he said we needed to keep that amount in the budget.
Well, I can see the amount of chemicals, but I don't consider that service master contract. That's, if they supply it, they're a vendor, but that should be under buildings and maintenance of supplies costs, somewhere buried down in the subcategory or the category of building and maintenance, but not a subject. It's not a specific contract. It could be increase in building and maintenance and then have that as a reason, but that shouldn't be if you terminate your service master contract, you shouldn't have anything, but you're buying whatever.
I can provide that to you.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen? Ronnie, you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't think so right now, I'm still kind of absorbed with quite all, but yeah, no, not at this time, I do not have any.
All right,
Join the rest of us.
all right, that's great. All right, anything else, fellas?
No, I don't have anything else.
Staff have any questions? All right. Ladies, I appreciate y'all coming, really do. Thank you for trying to give us some answers.
I'll send some information over to you as well.
All right, appreciate that very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. We'll have that other additional information hopefully by our Thursday meeting. So we can go through that. We'll have it hopefully before that, I hope.
I think we need to make sure that we give them everything that you're looking for while we can
Well,
vote on this budget.
yes, I
You know,
understand that.
there's no
Some of these
sense in
things
it
just
now.
came up.
Look, I'm upset just as well as a lot of people in the school system. It doesn't make any sense. Now, you need to let them know what you want, where they can bring it on, and we can vote, all right? I mean, don't keep bringing them back and you have something. If you know what you're looking for, tell them now where they can bring it. Well, we can vote.
Well, I think we've gone through the questions we've had.
Okay.
We've had questions, we've had answers, that didn't generate new questions and new answers, and then new questions and new answers.
Okay, as long as you give them what you want. I mean, that's all, I mean, being a person of the board. Give them what you want and let them bring it back, and let's vote on it. That's not asking much. The same as the other budgets. We need to vote on it. Get it out of the way.
All right, any other comments? All right,
I got one more question for the school. Do y'all have a budget that actually breaks it down by specific accounts?
Yes, sir.
Because all we've got right now is a general budget, and it got all the scales from Kingdom Come, basically, but we don't have, like, the specific things. Like in our budget, you've got, here you have, I just opened one page. Public safety, animal control, it goes from code 001 salary all the way down to 7,009 repairs to building.
Yes, sir. I thought I had sent it over to Mr. Tadlock.
You may have, but it's like so much stuff gets lost in everything else.
I just wanted to answer your question because I went back, I started
Yeah.
looking. So it looks like the service master contract is
We sent it to everybody.
$480,000.
All right, that's about right.
And then the request for next year would be $504,000.
So 480,000,
480,000, yes, sir.
and next year it'll be how much? Next year?
504,
That includes the 24,000.
correct.
But you've done away with the service master contract.
Correct. When we did the budget,
Yeah, I know. You've had a chance to then redo your budget in response to hiring custodians then.
I haven't done it yet because I'm waiting to see.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
There have been other priorities.
Get money for the county back, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Luttrell's, he has it, and he's gonna resend it right out to us.
I mean, we've gotten so much stuff, it's gotten lost and everything.
I know, the emails get lost. You get so confused on everything.
I'm resending the email that I sent before to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Tadlock.
That'll save you from
remember the
having to
amount.
go do it all again. We already have it.
Thank you.
All right. Any more discussion on school budget, or are you ready to move on to something else? I just received it, Luttrell.
Yeah, we got that. But I don't see a budget that is like ours. That goes with, compare, I've got that, and I've got a copy of that somewhere over here. But don't have anything that breaks down the subcategories, instruction, and all like that, just like we used to get that type of budget.
Yeah, this was the listed chart of accounts.
Yeah,
That-
chart of accounts, not the whole thing, just like how you do ours. So we can look at, we obviously can't deal with those things, but it's nice to be able to see and track, like you, mentioned about in the account, see where it's going. But we don't have that budget detail. We've got a very, what I call a thumbnail. Yeah, well, I saw that. I was pulling that up right and left, but.
Is that possible to do, Ms. Booth?
Can I see an example of what it is you're looking for?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
It's the way it should be broken down somewhere, because then you can assign the budget, and you got your account to go from there. That's the way it used to be sent to us in years past.
Isn't this just like the chart of accounts?
But then it breaks out under instruction and for everything like that, or whatever.
Have we already
received
that yet?
Yeah, I think that's what she's referring to in the chart of accounts. That
Yeah,
gives
I
you
saw that.
The account code, and then classroom instruction, elementary.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's accounts, but in terms of you be able to open the budget and look at everything. That's how we used to get it.
Yeah, so this breaks it out by office of the elementary school, middle school. So you've got teacher salary, NES, aid, the FICA, VRS.
Talking about the bus drivers and the amount for the drivers, like it's 68,254.
That's just the benefits, the actual health insurance, 300-some thousand.
Oh, yeah, the health insurance is 300,000, 222 for the driver. That's for the bus drivers, right?
This is probably it, but it's not in the format that we used to get. Not in the format like ours. Be nice to have budgets be the same, but anyway, that's too wishful thinking.
Do you have a different format that you use, or?
Well, we use the chart of accounts, and that, I didn't know that there was a different way that I was supposed to put it together. So
No,
it gives
I'm
all of the same information, but it does look different.
All of that falls back on what I mentioned in the last meeting. We're having budget worksheets sent out to department heads and agencies. And everything could be the same.
You're probably 100% right.
Mr. Tallon, do you have what the schools would have sent previously that was in this kind of format?
I would have to go back and look through the files and see what was previously.
I mean, I feel like ours isn't broken up by page where yours is, but I think it's the same information, it just keeps running. But there are totals throughout, so as they're bold titles kind of in the middle, and then it'll give you everything for that section. At the bottom, it has a highlighted area that tells you what the total is for that section, like total of operations and maintenance, total for instruction for the elementary, total teachers for elementary, total administration for the elementary. It's all broken out in that chart of accounts. It keeps going. It's not broken out by page.
Is that what you're talking about, Tom?
I have remembered the budget being very similar to ours. But let's not belabor that point.
So I'll work on that for next year.
See if you can find one years back.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And
I'm
it would
looking
be
at-
nice to have a similar budget format for everybody.
Well, that's something that needs to come from the county.
Yeah.
You know, the schools don't need to create it, we need to create it.
No, it's not up to schools to create
Right.
it.
Yeah, something else too that, the board recently took action on was the software, the budgeting software. So we've been actively working on that, trying to get that up to speed. We had sent in a lot of the information for the budgeting software. Just the timing did not work out for this fiscal year to get that straight, but we can see how, if that may be integrated somehow with the school divisions side of things too.
Yeah, like, I'm used to doing coding for like 5203 is telecommunications. You always knew that was telephone or whatever. You knew you could have that regardless of the school. You could have a school, you have education, in school system, but then a school, and then then the 50203. So then you could find, this is what the school system spent, then what this school spent, and then what it was on for that. And that way you can compare your cost of various things. When I used to work, we did a little small county budget through the Richmond County. I had to do, or Essex County. I had to do all those categories to make sure, I'd go back and look at the budget that was approved to make sure I got the specific code for it.
The codes are all in there. I think it's just set up, like you said, it's set up differently. All that information is in there. It's just set up differently.
Yeah. But then you can track various things. Enough said.
All right, any other comments, questions?
So we giving them everything that we'd like for them to have for Thursday, right?
Everything that I know of at this time. All right. Board ready to move on to something else, or
Oh,
still
I
have
think
other questions and comments?
A lot of other decisions we're gonna make on the county budget is gonna depend on what we do for school budget. Overall,
We
so
do have-
again, you have kind of stuck.
I guess we do have some things we can go through.
Yeah, we can do some things.
Go through the list of possible reductions by that.
Yeah, we got that. You ready to go through them, Luttrell?
I can. We've had actually a couple of items I heard from the electoral board. Just for your information, we updated the spreadsheet too. So 1301-3004, repairs and equipment, they looked at that and they need an increase of $100 there. And this was based off the spreadsheet that was forwarded to you all. Training, there was a reduction of $500. And then the capital outlay line item, increase of $14,500. And actually, the department did not include that in their original budget submission, and they realized that that was inadvertently left out. So they're asking for that to be considered to be placed back in.
Why did they feel the need to reduce training by $500? Since they've got, next year is gonna be, we know you're gonna have primary, presidential primary.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Don't know about the one in June.
The other item that they had indicated on there was a reduction of $500 under the salaries, but that is set by the state. And what they did not include or factor into that was the possible of the 5% increase. So we talked to Mr. Heller earlier today, and we were just going to leave that as is because he would be estimated under that amount if that's the case. So. But we can go through, y'all have taken action on the first item, the salaries for the supervisors, but we can go down through each one of those and see how the board wants to proceed on each one of those if you all would like.
Yeah, let's do that.
Or if you have specific questions related to either one of them.
All right, how does the board want to do it? Just go item by item?
Yeah, let's go item by item. This is where we can move, do something, let's go.
All right. Luttrell, you want to take over, or you want me to
Yes,
do
sir.
it?
No, I can go down the list. 1101, 3002, professional services. I was recommended to remove that $75,000 there. Again, we were looking at some of the engineering services and possibility of projects coming up in the new fiscal year, but we can certainly appropriate those funds as we move forward, if the board wants to remove that.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
But do you anticipate possibly doing additional or some studies, engineering, et cetera?
One of the things that we were looking at was, and we were kind of rethinking this idea as far as a on-call or on-staff type of engineer. We do have this roof that needs to be looked at. But we feel like we can just move forward in bidding that out, specifically the areas that need to be redone. So other than that, I know the board had indicated looking at some of the building uses, and different things like that. So I don't know exactly what that cost would be or what the scope of that work would be at this point. So that's why, not knowing some of that information, that's why we were recommending just taking that out.
Any other comments, questions? Well, if we don't know exactly what we may run into, we may need to leave it in. But I guess if we didn't leave it in, if it turned up that we needed to do something, we just have to make an appropriation for it.
Yeah, but I don't want to have a bottom line reduction, then you turn around next year.
Yeah,
Do it.
that's,
I mean, that's,
I was gonna add that, and I thank you for adding that, and that's fine. But,
I mean, if there's a realistic possibility of some studies necessary based upon what we currently have, then I think it's appropriate to keep it or some part of it in there.
well, let's just leave it in there.
Let's leave it in there.
Because I don't want to, oh, we lowered this, but then next year, that's not fair to the
All
public.
right, well, let's just leave it in there
Let's
then.
leave it in there.
Better to have it in there and not spend it, then you can, hey, whatever, but just, yeah.
Okay?
All right, so we'll take that, 1101-3002 and leave it in?
Yes.
All right. Ronnie, you got any comments?
No, Dave, that's it, I'm good with that.
All right. Luttrell?
All right, next item would be 1101, 8011, which was, we had placed the 2% in the event, 2% salary increase in the event that the state did a 7% increase versus the 5%. At this time, it does not look like they are doing that. So that's why we're recommending just remove that 118,772.
Question, who's going to get budget amendment or budget first, them or us? I think it's going to be a horse race.
All right,
All right, so we'll leave that one out.
leave that one out then.
Next item was the county audit. There was an increase of $8,250, so we were trying to reflect that, updating that estimate there.
All right, y'all wanna, that's in there. 8250 more.
All right, next item, 1210-3002, the reassessment. We had listed in there $275,000. There again, we would just be putting that out for bid next February, March timeframe. So we would not need that amount. The way we did that previously, 6 years ago, was that we budgeted half of it the first fiscal year and half of it the second half of that the following fiscal year. Just to let you know, the pricing on that has gone up, so we don't know exactly what that estimate is or that final cost is going to be. So we were just estimating that $50,000 would cover us for that time period from March to July to get started with the reassessment.
Well, how much of the reassessment process that was done with Concise can they use again?
That would be a Commissioner of Revenue question. I really don't know. It's my understanding that even with the increased pricing, a lot of them are just drive-by reassessments. They're not actually physically going to a lot of the sites to do the reassessment. So they're going by previous pictures, they're going by window surveys, they're doing a lot of that rather than physically going back and taking the picture. So a lot of that may be used again, but there again, that would be a question for the Commissioner of Revenue.
How much are you anticipating a parcel? Based on what you've heard?
Probably close to $20, $30 a parcel. It was before, from what I understand, it's doubled, and it was about $12, $15 per parcel previously.
Pay more, get less.
Gonna be a,
And it's roughly 19,000, it's a little over 19,000 parcels.
quite a bit of difference in cost this time.
Like they, all they're gonna do is a drive-by, buy property.
That's what they did last time on a lot of them.
No, actually, they actually would come to houses.
Yeah, they came to a lot of houses, a lot of them they drove by.
Yeah, you can look at some people's houses.
But you don't have many companies to choose from.
I know, but I think sometimes it's gonna have to think about either a regional or individual county assessors. You could do more, you could do a better assessment, which would be fair to the public too. Because if you're going by what you had, but things have changed, whatever.
Could tie that in with GIS.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, again, that's why we need to start looking at how to get the best bang for our buck and how to save money. I mean, you're paying for people to do a job and you're paying more, and like Tommy said, getting less, and we need to take a look at what we could do here ourselves.
All right, what's the board want to do? Leave it in, take it out?
Yeah, leave it in.
Leave 50,000 and reduce to 225.
Yeah. That's right, leave the 50 in.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
And take out 225,000.
Yes.
All right, that's what we'll do then. Take out the 225,000.
Pay me now, pay me later.
All right, Luttrell.
All right, back to the electoral board, 1301, 3004, repairs and equipment. It's an increase of $100 there.
What kind of equipment?
It's not going to be very big equipment for $100. I don't know as far as specifically what that increase is for.
Can't be much for $100.
A hammer. We're not as bad as the military.
All right, just want to leave that right in there?
Yeah.
All right, leave it in there.
$3,000.
All right, Luttrell.
All he had on this was miscellaneous supplies for cleaning, maintaining voting machines. All right. 1301, 6003 training was a reduction of $500. So instead of $1,500,
Yeah, we
it's
discussed that.
$1,000 for that particular line item.
All right,
And then 1301, 7002 capital outlay. There again, they failed to put that in their original budget submission, so they're asking for that to be included, which does have an increase. The original amount for fiscal year 23, current fiscal year was 3,000, and they currently spent 12,584.
What new equipment are they getting?
I don't know.
What are they replacing or adding on to? They had
He does not have a note beside that one.
12,000 this past year and then 14. They're not buying new voting machines.
I haven't heard that either. I don't know what it is. Do you want to know what it is, or you just want to? Can you find it what it is, Luttrell?
We can.
Find out what they spent the money on, the 12,000 plus this year, and then the new amount for this year. I know they have to replace those machines every so often, but that's a big difference. 3 to 14.
I see in that budget they've gotten battery chargers and batteries and so on, cones, signs. But this is a separate line item.
Yes, yeah.
All right, Luttrell, if you can find that out for us, find out those two things.
All right. Next one is 1401, 3004. There's a reduction in the room alert system, $3,300, and a reduction in the phone system upgrade, $12,080. So it's a total reduction of $15,380.
And is that's not a problem, Robert? Especially the room alert with the temperature?
We're cutting it in half, so we're still gonna get some of the equipment, but we'll get the other half next year.
I know you don't want rooms where servers and computers are to get too high,
We've had some issues with ACs, so yeah,
so, but this would not hurt you.
no.
Okay, I don't want our systems to crash. Because I know when I worked for the state, they would,
Leave it in.
on the weekends, they cut the air conditioner off, and there goes the system will come in Monday.
All right, so Robert, you feel comfortable with taking that out?
Yeah.
All right, rest of the board okay with it?
Robert's okay.
If he's okay.
Robert's the one signing off on it. All right,
Next item is 1401, 3005. It was a reduction of 28,600, and that included a reduction in breeze line dedicated fiber, 19,200. A reduction in off-site backup hosting, 3,600, and a reduction in awareness training, 5,800.
all right, do we need the dedicated fiber?
It would be nice, we could put that off for another year. With the dedicated fiber, it would help have a better connection to the phone system, but also have a better connection to the internet in general. We have the sheriff's office with their VPNs out the field now. Also with the off-site backup, that hasn't been working at all because the internet's not good enough. That's why that's going to get done.
What's not good enough?
The internet isn't good enough to push our backup off-site.
So if we don't have a backup, worst case, we got a fire and we've lost everything.
No, we do have two other backups. We just-
Okay.
Our one push to Richmond wasn't working.
We got redundant, and redundant. Okay.
Right. The best case for backup is called a 3-2-1 plan. 3 backups, 2 on-site, 1 off-site.
I got you.
We'll just keep the third one here. And the awareness training was something new I wanted to push out to, that'd be for everybody in the county to teach them how to use the internet without getting the virus. But we can put that off too.
And that'd probably have a virus in it. I'm concerned about, I understand saving money, but if the fiber would help the total internet system of the county, I think that's important because if you've got VPN tied into the sheriff's office, that's one very sensitive data anyway. I'd like to see, keep the fiber in there. I'd like to at least be in the 20th century, if not the 21st.
That fiber connection will also be used for the radio system.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
So you're gonna have to put it in
Sooner or later.
sooner or later.
And, I mean,
Later's gonna be a higher cost.
but again, the citizens access our internet and the county website, I don't want them, oh, it's crashing, and then something like that, but I don't want systems and all departments not to have something. Fiber would be better than having what we've got now, you know.
Yeah. All right, so we'll leave the fiber in, that's 19,200.
Because we're trying to make more public awareness, and
Yep.
you can't get in, we've heard that in regards to the school system.
I want
It's
the
not-
public to be able to access things.
Yes. Hope nobody cuts it.
Okay, Luttrell, you okay with that?
Yes, sir, I'm just running the numbers now, put that in the spreadsheet.
All right, you take your time.
All right.
Anytime you're ready.
Next item is 3102-1001, is the deputy position, 74,739.
All right. Board okay with that?
Is the sheriff's okay with it?
Yeah, sure.
Sheriff's okay with it?
I want to make sure.
Yep, he's okay with it. All right, Luttrell, next.
Removal of the 4 dispatch part-time, $25,000.
He's okay with that one too.
Although that's a source of getting potential permanent, but
I
anyway.
thought that was one of the things he'd sent out to us that he could do without.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
What the dispatches?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take both of those out, if that's what the board wants to do.
Is that what the board wants to do, take both of them out?
Yes.
All right, yeah. Take them both out, Luttrell.
All right. Next item is related to the volunteer fire departments, 3202, 7005 for the motor vehicles and equipment. They had asked for increase of 98,477. Typically what we do is a 5% increase each year, but they had asked for the opportunity to double that amount. So that's why you see that 98,477 increase. We had suggested possibly cutting that in half for them, but that's up to the board how you all would like to proceed on that.
All right, board got any comments?
Back on Luttrell on, 12027005 on the fire department equipment, did y'all remove that completely?
The 3202, 7005, no.
Other vehicles and, equipment for volunteer fire department?
No, we had, in the proposed budget, we had doubled it. That was the request from the volunteer
Now,
fire.
here you
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little bit better.
All right, so the original budget, fiscal year '23 budget was 98,475. They had asked for that to be doubled, so we increased that, we doubled it, and it was 196,952. Typically, what we do is do a 5% increase on that, but since they had requested that to be doubled, we looked at the 147, well, that was the 196,952, but we were looking at doing half of that request, so it would be 147,714.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, or?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
So with the 5% increase, you were looking at 103,400.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Comments?
A lot of what's pushing this is your average pumper now is about $800,000. They used to be $300,000.
Yep.
And they're really increased in cost. I think the county needs to look at other alternatives in far as trying to help fire departments and get apparatus also.
Fire grants.
Fire grants,
USD.
a grant writer would do a lot for this county to do grants for emergency services, EMS, fire, and the sheriff's department to save money. And we're missing out on a lot. But it's also hard for these volunteers to get out there. I'm one. I've been one for many, many years, and so is Tony. You can't sell enough chicken dinners now to buy a fire truck or buy a medic unit. A medic unit is $300,000 or more. And they're feeling the crunch. They don't have the amount of people they used to have. And it's the same small group of people that's trying to do all the fundraisers, run the calls, and to keep the doors open. So I think we got to look at other alternatives also to help fund fire apparatus and, you know.
And that's actually, as I was talking to the chief, there is a House Bill 2175 statewide fire and EMS funding study to look into that for fire and EMS services additional fundings. And this will require there'll be one survey per locality. Is that going to be both fire and EMS or just EMS, or do you know, Chief?
It's both.
So the fire department's going to have to get together with the chief and the volunteer rescue squads, along with his own agency, will end up submitting one information. And it's obviously exactly what you were talking about, looking at alternative funding.
And, you know, we done the fire study, and it was a lot of recommendations
Yeah.
in that, and we need to start looking at those recommendations.
But they weren't funding recommendations, though.
No, but there are other recommendations
no, I know.
that need to be followed and to make things a whole lot better.
I agree, Jimmy. I think we need to find a grant writer, you know, to help. Everything becoming so expensive, you know, you just can't raise that amount of money.
No.
For all these things. So it'd be good if we had a grant writer.
Got to save the taxpayer all we can. And a grant writer would probably make a big difference on that.
Let's make a motion. It would look
We
good.
have no idea what kind of grant writer position you'd have. We don't have any kind of job description or how they would be compensated. Some straight salaries, some they get X amount of dollars of the grant
There's
they
a-
receive, so.
There's a retired battalion chief in Chesterfield by the name of Gene Reams. We'd be more than glad to come down and talk with his county. He is a grant writer. He actually hired me when I worked in Chesterfield, and I actually hired him when I worked in Essex. And he charged a fee of $26,000 a year. He wrote the grants for the sheriff's office, emergency services, EMS, and the fire department. And you're not gonna get every grant, but
No.
you know that. But on the average, he got about $250,000 worth of grants a year.
That offsets the salary pretty good.
And that is a good return on a $26,000 investment.
You say he'd be willing to come down and talk to us.
I'm sure he would.
That's.
All right, would you mind check?
I'll check.
Yeah, let's check.
Now, just to let everybody know, a lot of these grants, they're government grants somewhere else. Now, I don't want to minimize that. There aren't a lot of private entities that give money for fire, EMS, and police. It's going to save the local taxpayers' real estate and personal property some, but your federal tax wallet is still going to get hit. So, but if we can help you locally and also get some federal funds, I just didn't want to give any rosy pictures to anybody.
No. And a part of the grant process is you have to manage that grant. You have to fill in reports and have good data to support what they funded, and he takes care of all of that.
Because Richmond County got some federal funds, I think it was USDA or some for one of their squads, if I remember right.
All right, any other comments? All right, okay, Luttrell.
All right, next item is 3203, 1001, and we put this in the second column as for further discussion because the Chief Balderson had presented some additional information to the board last week regarding some options to use the EMS billing monies to help offset the operational side of the EMS billing or EMS budget. If the board decided to remove the 4 EMS positions, that would be $258,617.64. But there again, we do have that $120,000 coming back in to help offset that operational cost.
We've been having some staffing issues, and this mandatory overtime can really bring people down and cause a morale issue. If you don't fix it now, we're going to lose people. But I also, in doing that, I think we ought to use that $120,000 to offset the expense of bringing those people on.
Chief Balderson.
But also to help out with that, I think we need to make sure we adjust those EMS fees.
Yep.
What do you think, we're lower than other counties or what?
We are lower
We're lower in some areas and
in some areas. I mean, it's a service we have to provide to the citizens. And it's a service that will never fund itself.
No.
But we have to offset it as much as we can. And you know yourself, we've been having issues with right much overtime. So it may be an additional cost in overtime as well, but we can't keep working people extra shifts. They've worked 24 hours and you hold them for another 24 hours. That right there is hard to do. That right there will burn them out.
Well, we're going to have, the proposed regulations have a fatigue management requirement after 12 hours. And nobody knows because it hadn't passed yet, but its draft regulations by OEMS have been sent to the governor's office.
Right.
So that would have some impacts, and you could possibly overlap and whatever, but again, obviously, I know there's been discussion of having, you'd have 5 per shift, and if one doesn't come in, then you'd still have 2 full shifts. But again, one of my concerns is Chief Balderson.
Well,
He's
that
now
would-
gonna have 20 full-time employees under him, and that's, if you go by any span of control, that's too much for one person to do when we've got an assistant county administrator, et cetera. I mean, you look at all the schools, they've got, every school's got an assistant principal. I think the chief needs some time off too.
Yeah. But he's got his shift leaders, and I understand where you're coming on that, but we gotta start and build a system somewhere.
Yeah, but you keep piling on him, then I don't wanna burn him out either.
No.
He needs some fatigue management. Chief got his finger up.
Chief Paulson, you have any comments?
Yes, sir. I appreciate your comments, Mr. Tomlin. And in respect to that, the 4 positions, one of those items that I would like to address is specifically that, what you're speaking of. And I'll reference the boat incident where I came back from.
Oh, I know.
It is my plan, if these 4 positions are approved, is the shift leaders, with some additional training, would be able to be on-duty EMS supervisors that would have that EMS command capability. Therefore, not requiring me to come back in, that they can take those on and run those shifts that way. Obviously, my phone would always be on to be able to answer questions for them. But as the hierarchy would go, that would be my span of control, is those 4 individuals immediately, but yes, ultimately responsible for the entire group of individuals. And as Mr. Brand said, we would ultimately build the system so we would gain that span of control over everyone eventually. But as Mr. Brand stated, this would be the start to that portion where those 4 individuals, if everyone is on duty and they are in that EMS supervisor's role, would be able to be that EMS command person to take on those responsibilities, and also be able to shift some of the other responsibilities to them, such as we have individuals now, the shift leaders, that do the scheduling, maintenance, and some of that stuff. But being able to give a little bit more of that responsibility to them because they're on a response vehicle and not actually responding to every call, so they have a little bit more time to put towards those efforts. Also, as you all had already spoke about, is the potential reduction in overtime and part-time, and don't forget that we have policies in place too, that holiday leave that these individuals get, they have to take that holiday leave within a specific time frame, so then that creates a scheduling issue as well while others are trying to get off. So those types of things are what we're looking at to overcome with these 4 individuals. One other thing I'd like to point out with these 4 individuals is being able to assist the volunteer fire departments on their calls as well, particularly structure fires, where we may have an ambulance there, not only for the firemen, but also for anyone that is at the home that may be injured. If that ambulance has to transport somebody, now we have to wait for another ambulance potentially to get there for whatever time frame that is, but if this person's in that EMS supervisor role, they're able to be there and provide that assistance to them until the ambulance can get there. So those are some of the things that these individuals can enhance our system with, not just the reduction in overtime and part-time. But I do thank you for your comment, but I also wanted to let you know that I had been thinking about that, and I think this is the first step in going into that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we need to leave it in there.
Yeah. But you'd have a revenue of 120,000 if we use that, so.
Yeah, and I have put that in
Okay.
on the revenue side as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the actual increase would be like 138-some thousand over, in terms of additional county revenues. Okay?
All right, so we'll leave that one in, if that's
Yes.
all right with the board.
Let's just leave that one right in.
All right. Next item is 4305, 1001 is the sanitary district position. it's a possible reduction if the board wishes to do so, 55,353.02.
How many employees are there now? And I know he has been asking for this position for a few years.
Yes, sir. There are five.
Five employees.
One is currently out on sick leave.
All right, that one's out. So you got Fleeton, you got Reedville, you got Callio.
Well, Reedville's all one and the same with Fleeton.
Yeah. Fleeton, Reedville, yeah, you want to call it that. And we don't have, let's see, still got the school.
I had spoke with David about this position, and he had identified some cost savings to help offset the additional position. And one of them is, I believe when the new plan is up and running, they don't have to staff that plant 8 hours on Saturdays or over the weekend. It will only be 4. So it's cost savings and there. And he mentioned one or two others. I can't remember what they were, but he has identified some cost savings to help offset the cost of this position. And they have been struggling with trying to keep people going and healthy and also getting the work done.
Well, if we put that position in there, leave it in there,
Yeah, leave it in there.
that'll give them an additional man there, or additional person.
Can we get with him though and at least get the cost savings documented and just see what it will end up being?
Can you have him or the information here at the next meeting?
I'll reach out to him, see if he can provide some estimates to the cost savings
Okay.
that he had previously provided, so. All right, so as far as the position, the board wants to put that back in the budget?
Yeah.
To include that?
Yeah, put that back in the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, because the problem is if the sewer system, either Callio or Reedville, goes down, you need repairs. If you don't do something, I know you're gonna hear about that one. Can't flush my toilet, and it's backing up in my house. I don't wanna hear that stink. And I know that system in Reedville is old. Helped my father survey the lines in 1976, so it's an old system.
Is that the overtime? Yeah, the email that Mr. Willard had sent indicated overtime for weekend duty will be cut in half. And currently, the budgeted amount is $23,000 for the overtime amount.
So that'll pay for half of that position. Savings in overtime.
Be 13,000 and change,
Yeah.
Okay.
or 12, yeah. No, 11,000 and change. Still.
Does that answer the board's question as far as some of the other items? I'm not sure he's going to be able to provide too much specifics on. Chemical costs should have a substantial amount of savings. Sludge disposal should be a lower amount, and may see some savings on electrical costs too, with the new plant. So I'm not sure he's going to have specific amounts tied to those.
Okay.
But he did tie that overtime for weekend duty will be cut in half.
I think that's close enough, because some of those other costs, you're not gonna be able to track them that close.
That's fine.
Additional electrical costs, you're not gonna know till it's up and running.
No, that's gonna be a year's experience.
Chemical costs are the same way, you don't know how much chemicals you're gonna need.
If they're petroleum-based, watch out.
Yeah.
Does that answer the board's question?
Yeah.
Do you still need me to reach out to
No.
Mr. Willard?
No, we are all right on that.
All right. Thank you. All right. As far as that goes too, what we would need to do is check on vehicle for that individual as well. So I'm not sure what vehicle fleet he's got tied to that, but that's something we can check on as well. So, food bank, 5302, 5612, a reduction of $9,000.
What was that, Lutz?
The food bank, they requested $10,000. We currently provide them $1,000. It was looked to level fund them, so it would be a reduction of $9,000. The board did ask me to.
I don't
Yeah.
think we need to. I think we need to give them the full funding. They're serving more people within the last couple of years than they ever served. And a lot of these food banks, they are putting out a lot of money, you know, and they're serving a lot of people. So we need to make sure we help these people. The food banks and the free health clinics. I mean, they're putting out a whole lot of money to help people. I believe in one, they said they put out $647,000 to feed people. I mean, we didn't even put half of it. So, you know, they're helping a lot of people in Northumberland, quite a few. A large percentage of the people. And I believe I know we have a food bank in Reedville, we got one in Wycomico, and I don't know if we have one in, at the church over there in, towards Langston or not, but you have quite a few people. Oh, they have one at, the Methodist church right there at Wycomico. So that's three. And those places be loaded, you know. So it's a lot of people that need help. Just like I keep telling you, it's a lot of people on Social Security and very low Social Security. And they're struggling. So we need to do everything we can to help them on food bank and free health clinic. Most of these people, the only service they can get is from that free health clinic. They don't have health insurance. So, you know, we here to help, should be here to help as much as possible. You know.
I think we got 5 food banks in the county.
At least.
It is,
Yeah.
at least 5.
At
Yeah,
least
that's
5.
quite a few.
And I think between all that's there, people get what they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a few get things that they don't need. I mean, I think it's good to have, but I think some people take advantage of it as well.
Well, I tell you, they have to be a certain income and fill out papers now. And you got a lot of kids right here in Northumberland. I reckon the school division could help us out. Grandparents are raising kids. You know, so. And a lot of those grandparents are getting food for the kids from those food banks. One of the greatest things the state ever done. every kid receive a free lunch. I don't care what the salary your parents make, every kid receive a free lunch. And I remember many times I had to pull out money, kids, Miss Law, can you buy my lunch? I'll pay you back. How you gonna pay me back when you don't work? Yeah, so, that's one of the greatest things ever happened, that the state give everybody free lunch, free meals. A lot of times, the kids in elementary school didn't mind filling out forms, but when they get to high school, kids were going without eating because they were embarrassed. They didn't want to fill out those forms to let kids know. But that was a blessing and a gift that the state made, where every kid can eat every day. So, and we don't need to hurt people any more than they already hurt. So I suggest that we put as much as we can in that food banks and the free health clinic. She had, I made hundreds that they served from Northumberland. It's quite a few.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes, my comments apply to the food bank, the Haven, the Free Health Clinic, and the Little League. I believe in level funding. The concern I have is these are nonprofit organizations. They do good work. I'm not in any way questioning that. But people give money to us involuntarily. These are organizations that people should contribute to themselves. I've donated to some of these in here. But I don't think the taxpayers should be expected through us to donate to them. And that's just, it's maybe a hard-nosed approach, but that's just how I feel, that we cannot be the supporter of everybody on the backs of other people too. If people voluntarily gave us 5 cents a year for us to do what we want, then that's one thing. But we've heard enough about the concerns of the increase. From $1,000 to $900,000 to $9,000, that's a 900% increase. I just can't support it.
Well, I can't support us getting ourselves a raise either.
I agreed with you.
And not giving them a raise.
I didn't vote for a raise.
Right.
I didn't vote for a raise.
That's kind of selfish too.
I didn't vote for a raise.
I mean, I couldn't face the public. Getting yourself a raise, and I want to help people that really need it.
But as Mr. Brand said, there are those who are going from food bank to food bank to food bank.
I don't think.
But also, the county, let's look at this thing, let's broaden this picture here now. What does this county have in place to assist people in need? Does the low income have to pay for transport to the hospital?
No?
Do they get some type of tax break?
Yeah.
Depends, some do, not as many.
Some do.
Right.
But, this county does a lot to help people that are in need. And
Not as much as we could do, should do. You can't, I don't agree with that. If the state thought like some of you are thinking, they wouldn't have passed the grant where everybody gets free lunch. Why did they have to have some people on there that looked out and know the schools and the kids needed that,
Ronnie, you have any comments?
I agree with Thomas, if we can't be giving away taxpayer dollars to every nonprofit organization comes along. We don't donate to all the churches in the area. We get into, I think you're overstepping your bounds with what you're doing with taxpayer money.
All right. So the board wants to take it all out.
No, we have level funding,
Well, I mean, all the increase,
all the increases.
Increase, yeah. We'll level fund them.
That's my position.
All right, do we need to, you want to vote on it, or you just want to?
You want to do, may want to do it individual by group, as it may be.
By each line item is what we ought to do. All right, we're on the food bank. All right, do we want to level fund them?
I move we level fund.
All right, we got a motion. Do I have a second?
What was the motion, Richard?
Level fund it, Ronnie.
Level fund the food bank.
Okay.
All right, got a second? All right, second's not required. All those in favor of level funding the food bank, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Hey,
All right, motion passes 4-1.
I move we level fund the Haven, whatever that amount is.
All right, we got a motion to level fund the Haven. Do I have a second? Second's not required. Any other discussion on that? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
nay.
All right, motion passes 4-1.
I move we level fund the free health clinic.
All right, do I have a second? Second's not required. Any other discussion?
And that's not an inconsequential amount they're getting now. What is it, like 96, 98,000?
Yeah.
Currently, they are getting $71,095.
That's what they keep asking for, they raised it this year.
Yeah.
But that's still not an inconsequential amount.
The increased amount was $46,271.
So again, level funded their current amount.
All right, do I have a second? All right, second's not required. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
All right, motion passes 4-1.
I move we level fund the Little League at 1,000, which is our current amount. Is that correct, Mr. Tadlock?
Currently, the Little League is at 2,000.
2,000, we'll level fund at 2,000.
All right. Do I have a second?
How much does it normally get now, level?
We currently provide them 2,000. They're asking for an $8,000 increase for a total of 10,000.
Thank you.
All right, second's not required. Any other discussion?
One of the concerns in their request is their funding source is a problem. And this, what I'm seeing is they would also be wanting more and more and more every year, because then we're going to be supplying a larger portion. And they had an agreement with the school system, they cut the grass, and now, so, but I'm concerned about future growth. If we went 8,000 would be 10, then I'd see it next year, because their revenues they're bringing in are now down, and it's not going to get any better, barring somebody donating some fair amount of money.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
What was that, Ronnie?
Aye.
All right. All those against? All right, motion passes
Was that 5-0?
5-0. All right. Anything else?
Like got social services, but they,
I wasn't sure about that.
again, Mrs. Clayton was offered the 10,000, and she's comfortable with that?
She said that she would be comfortable with that. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
I just-
All right.
I'm on the board, and I hadn't heard anything, so, but if she's comfortable, hey,
Yeah.
she knows things better than I do.
Yeah, if she's comfortable, we'll just take it out then.
Yeah, I talked to her, she's all right with that.
Okay, because recently I went to pick up one patient on the squad and ended up taking two, and they both had the same issue, mental health, dementia, Alzheimer's scenarios, so. But I had to make a little call, so. Anyway, if she's
All right.
comfortable, I'll make the motion that we reduce the 10,000 per the director's offer.
Second.
All right. Got a motion to have second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Could
Yes.
you restate that motion, please?
The motion is on social services. Ms. Clayton, up there, Jackie Clayton, has requested that you reduce her budget by $10,000
In the local costs
in local costs.
that you allow us.
Right. No problem.
All right. Any other questions before I call for a vote? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes 5-0. Luttrell, what else you have you want tonight?
All right, next item would be 9103, 7022, county CIP transfer, a reduction of $50,000, which would still leave $100,000 being transferred to the capital improvement project fund to be determined what those funds would be utilized for by the CIP committee.
Questions, comments?
Well, that's the only funding source for capital improvement. And we got to maintain buildings, properties. I think that needs to stay in there.
All right. Anybody else got any comments on it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You make a motion, Jimmy?
That can be a motion if it needs to be.
Okay. Second.
All right, got a motion to leave it in there?
Yes.
Well, just for clarification, that's the motion to keep it at the 150,000, not reduce that to 100,000.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion to second. Got any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Jett?
Said aye.
All right. No, I did not hear you at that time. All right, all those against? Motion passes 5-0.
All right, next item is the school CIP transfer. It was a reduction of $840,274. And there again, I think the board was looking at the possibility of the use of the construction funds
Correct.
to try and help offset some of that cost there.
All right,
Well, I move that we reduce the school CIP by that amount.
Second.
all right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes 5-0.
All right, the next item is 9103-7029, capital vehicles. The sheriff had received a law enforcement grant in the amount of $119,800, and with the reduction or the removal of the deputy position, we would just need $56,000 in that capital vehicles line item. He was requesting 4 vehicles, so 2 of them would be covered by a grant, and he would not need one of those vehicles due to the removal of the deputy position. So he would just need what he would be asking for would be to cover the cost of one vehicle in the amount of $56,000.
Move that we approve.
All right, got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? All right, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, and the last item that I have is 9103-731, is the capital emergency radio cost, and we can reduce that to $100,000, but keep in mind, the first year payment is going to be around $100,000, but years 2 through on after that would be $507,000 roughly. Now that, again, that depends on how much we borrow. That's based off the $5 million estimate that we currently have. But just know if we reduce that, then we're going to have to come back next the fiscal year 25 to make that up.
Where are we in terms of having the contract reviewed for board approval?
County attorney has reviewed that, finalized that. We are looking at some final items in that, and we hope to have that to the board at the July meeting. So, and I know he has reviewed with the other attorneys in the regional radio system. They have reviewed the MOU, and they're finalizing that. So we're still moving forward with it.
Now, part of his grant that we just mentioned before would be for radios,
That's correct.
and thus we could possibly reduce some of the radios that we purchased under that contract, which could then reduce our overall cost some too.
And I have reached out to Davenport to see how best to handle that, whether to go ahead and just finance it at that rate and then use the grant money to pay the loan, or how to best handle that or reduce it off of that. So I have not heard back from Davenport at this point.
All right, any other questions, comments? Pleasure of the board.
Not gonna have the expenditure in the first year, and he used to have that kind of money in there.
No.
It doesn't take much rocket science on that. That's to pad your budget. Raise the tax, no.
All right, so we'll take it out then?
Yep.
All right. A motion?
I'll make a motion then.
All right, we got a motion, I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion, second, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? Motion passes 5-0.
They left that one at 49,230. Yeah. Just for clarification, the volunteer fire department, you want to leave that at half of the funding that they requested, correct? The 49,000.
Yeah.
So reduce it by the 49,238. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you. We just wanted to confirm that. All right, that's all I had on the list. I don't know if there are any other areas the board wishes to discuss, or?
Well, Thursday, you will have what all these things mean in terms of reductions and in terms of the budget and,
Well, again, the biggest cost there is going to be, of course, the school budget. And
well, I'm saying, in terms of this. I know you don't have the school budget figured
Yeah.
in there, but
Yeah, we could have some estimates as far as what the board has looked at tonight.
yeah, well, I'd like to see what these reductions did from $51 million downward. To see, yeah, let's really start thinking about, it's day late, the dollar short, but what are we looking at as far as tax rate?
You can have all that ready for us for a Thursday meeting?
Sure, yeah, I mean,
All
we
right.
can,
It needs a better ballpark than we're in right now.
right.
All right.
So Thursday at 5, right? 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock Thursday. All right, any other questions, comments from the board? You need anything else from us, Luttrell?
When is the plan right now to meet again, Richard?
It is Thursday, which is the 22nd at 5 PM.
5 o'clock, not 5:30.
No, yeah, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Okay. 5 o'clock this Thursday.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome. You need anything, excuse me, need anything else from us?
Just a motion to carry over.
All right, to have a motion to carry over till 6:22 at 5 PM.
So moved.
Second.
So moved, have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today. Everybody in the virtual world also. Look forward to seeing y'all here back on Thursday.